Amid escalating tensions in the Middle East, Israel intensifies military actions as the Knesset debates banning the Palestinian flag. Strikes on Lebanon and territorial ambitions raise concerns about regional stability and global diplomacy. In the U.S., Elon Musk's proposal to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget under Trump's Department of Government Efficiency sparks debate over its impact on foreign aid, military spending and government operations. Meanwhile, Zelensky's remarks about a faster resolution to the Ukraine war under Trump hint at a strategic shift, raising questions about diplomacy, battlefield realities and energy politics. We'll start off with the latest in the Middle East. Welcome to In Focus.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
الوضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
Israeli occupation forces have launched 4 waves of airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs since the early morning. Lebanese media stated that Israeli warplanes launched at least 4 violent airstrikes on Harat Harik, with most reported as powerful. An Israeli strike on Beirut's Ras al-Naba has reportedly killed Hezbollah's media relations chief Mohammad Afif. Lebanese security sources confirmed the information to Reuters, though there has been no immediate confirmation from Hezbollah. The strike targeted a building housing the Ba'ath Party offices, and Ali Hijazi, the head of the party in Lebanon, confirmed to local media that Afif was inside the building at the time of the attack. The Israeli occupation forces have ordered the evacuation of residents from over 15 towns and villages in southern Lebanon. The latest orders targeted areas including Hadath, Harat Harik and Burj al-Barajne. The occupation army spokesperson, in an Arabic statement, warned residents to leave immediately, citing preparations for airstrikes. Israeli airstrikes on Hadath and other areas in Beirut's southern suburbs have caused widespread devastation. Residents reported loud explosions during the strikes, followed by plumes of smoke rising from the damaged sites. An Israeli airstrike has targeted a building in Beirut's central Ras al-Naba neighborhood, killing 1 person and injuring 3. This marks the first such attack in nearly a month. The strike hit the busy area without a warning, with local media identifying the building as a Ba'ath Party center. The Israeli occupation forces have reported that around 20 projectiles were detected crossing from Lebanon to Israel, with some intercepted by the Israeli air defense system. The projectiles were identified after sirens were activated in Haifa Bay and Western Galilee. Emergency services did not report any injuries. The Washington Post has reported that Lebanese officials are currently reviewing a U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal aimed at halting the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hezbollah as Israeli airstrikes continue to target southern Beirut. The proposal is based on UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which ended the 2006 war and calls for Hezbollah's withdrawal from southern Lebanon. The plan envisions the deployment of Lebanese military forces and UN peacekeepers in the region. Lebanese Parliamentary Speaker Nabi Berri confirmed that talks are progressing. A response to the proposal is expected by early next week, though concerns persist that Israel's military actions may influence the outcome. Now let's explore how Musk's budget proposal could reshape the priorities and foreign relations of the U.S. government.
We can fix every single problem our country faces and lead America, and indeed the whole world. USA! This is a magnificent victory for the American people. Promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again.
The New York Times raises a critical question. Musk wants to slash $2 trillion in federal spending. Is that possible? President-elect Donald Trump's ambitious plan, led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy under the Department of Government Efficiency, promises to overhaul federal operations. But as the article points out, cutting such a massive amount, nearly 30% of the federal budget, poses immense challenges, from reducing popular programs to potentially risking the stability of critical government functions. We'll explore the feasibility of this proposal and its potential impacts on the economy, foreign policy, and government efficiency. We will discuss the potential ripple effects of this plan with Dr. Peter Tanis, an esteemed economic expert who joins us from Washington. Dr. Tanis, welcome to Q News. Now, let me ask you, Musk's proposal to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget represents nearly 30% of the total spending. How realistic or feasible, really, is this level of reduction without major disruptions?
It's a wonderful plan and a lovely idea, but for the most part, it will end up being mostly fantasy, for the simple reason that cutting the budget by $2 billion is almost impractical and impossible, since most of the federal budget are permanent payments to Medicare, Social Security, and other items that cannot be politically cut.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about internationally? How might these proposed cuts specifically impact the U.S. foreign aid programs to key allies like Ukraine and Israel?
Well, first of all, if we're talking about cutting the budget, the one aspect is to increase revenue, which presumably Trump's plan to impose tariffs on just about everything that comes in the country would raise revenue, but it would also increase costs and it would be highly inflationary. In terms of foreign policy, since you asked, there's likely to be a deal for Ukraine, and Ukraine is going to have to do what it doesn't want to do, which is probably cede some territory to Russia, particularly in the areas that are more Russian than Ukrainian anyway, and make other compromises. So this will happen, but it's not the only effect it'll have on American spending is that we will spend a lot less in supporting Ukraine than we have already. So there will be some savings there.
Dr. Tanis, now defense spending is a significant part of the federal budget. So what challenges might arise from targeting it for efficiency-driven cuts?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Defense spending is the largest discretionary item in the budget. It's about $850 billion a year. But guess what? We now spend more than that on interest on the national debt. So the idea that Republicans are going to cut military spending is not realistic. Republicans generally like military spending. And cutting the national debt is almost impossible because, number one, interest rates are going up, not down, if you follow the currency markets. So that doesn't seem extremely practical either. But it really is extraordinary that the United States today spends more on interest on the national debt than we do on national defense.
What about Elon Musk's preference for fixed price contracts over cost-plus contracts, which has been highlighted? Could this approach work in government operations, especially in defense?
Yeah, it could in some cases, but there'll be isolated cases. There are some cases, I mean, this gets into the nitty-gritty of budgeting and contracts. There are some cases, no doubt, where fixed price will work. But remember, your counterparty is a private corporation that's going to have to agree to it. And they'll only agree to it if they think they can make it work. So, yeah, it's possible. But whether it will have a major impact on spending is debatable.
So now, with the U.S. grappling, really, with rising deficits and debt, do you see this initiative as a necessary fiscal reform or an overly ambitious political statement?
It's a wonderful idea, and it should be tried, and they will try to do it. But what they're going to run into enormous problems when you try to cut, for example, something in a state where a senator and a congressman have constituents who are not going to be happy about the cuts. You're going to run into a lot of obstacles in Congress of people who don't want anything cut in their backyard. They're basically going to say, cut the other guy's programs, but not mine.
Mm-hmm. So what about the response or the reaction of the different political and economic observers and most definitely the public opinion? Is there a very significant response or reaction to these proposed cuts?
No, because nothing has happened yet. I mean, we don't know what they are. The idea, they've come up with this wonderful plan that we're going to try to cut some of the waste out of government. Who's going to object to that? We all want that to happen. But the reality is it's going to be a hell of a lot harder. And when we get into the specifics of what they're going to cut, that's when you're going to see some reaction. Nobody is going to react badly to the principle.
Mm-hmm. And as preliminary statements by Elon Musk and Vivek, do you feel that these were, or how were these sort of appointments or appointments by the president-elect received, at least by the public opinion and the political spectrum as a whole?
Well, we've seen already that some of them will not have any trouble at all. When you talk about people who are qualified for the jobs, whether you like them or not, Marco Rubio is perfectly qualified to be Secretary of State. Matt Gaetz is not the least bit qualified to be Attorney General, and one could argue some of the candidate for defense is arguably not qualified either. So it's going to be a mixed picture. Some of Trump's appointees are going to be fine. They will get complete support on both sides. Others won't.
Dr. Peter Tannis, the economic and political expert, thank you very much, sir, for your insights surrounding Elon Musk's budget proposal. Ladies and gentlemen, now we turn to Ukraine, where Zelensky's recent remarks signal a potential shift in strategy amid newly arising challenges in the ongoing war. Rolling Stone recently published an article titled "Trump's Peace Plan for Ukraine Looks Like Putin's Victory," raising concerns about the potential fallout of the president-elect's approach to ending the Ukraine war. The piece argues that Trump's plan could consolidate Russia's territorial gains, strain NATO, and risk nuclear proliferation. As the new administration prepares its foreign policy, the debate highlights significant implications for Ukraine, U.S. alliances, and global stability. Whether Trump's strategy redefines America's role or faces pushback remains a critical question. And to analyze this, we are joined by Dr. Ivan Uas, a professor of international relations from Kyiv. Dr. Uas, thank you very much for joining us here on Q News. Now, President Zelensky recently suggested that the war could end faster under Trump's policy. What might be driving this shift in tone from Kyiv?
Masal here in Kyiv, my greetings to studio and all audience. So, of course, we should understand that the previous practically 3 years of war, or 1,000 days that will be in today, actually from now, showed that on the one hand, the current administration under the President Biden supports Ukraine, but on the other hand, it was a feeling that the support was not enough. Now we have a statement from President Zelensky that we received not all support. US, at least the representatives of Pentagon say that they give a lot, but in Ukraine we have a feeling that there was no clear understanding of necessity of victory in the White House, in the current administration. And with appearance of President Trump, it appears new reality. Now I have a clear feeling that President Trump, newly elected President Trump, don't know what to do. That's why appears some vacuum of information, and a lot of people, a lot of magazines and analysts try to fulfill that vacuum, but it doesn't mean that the information is correct. And in Ukraine, as I said, there is expectation of more chances for getting peace through power that we feel from some representatives of Trump administration. Whether that will be right, our wish, or wrong, we will see, because till the 20th of January, there are a lot of time when finally President Trump became the president, actually, and received the right to change the global policy, as we all sure will do. But now some expectations that with the change of that philosophy, that new administration can say that we will give this peace due to force, that could open to Ukraine new opportunities. For example, there will be no limits for using weapons that our partners give to us on the Russian territory, because current administration created limits, and the former Speaker of the Representatives Palate, Mike Johnson, said that there should be no micromanagement in this support. So we think that if the same line will preserve, and the United States of America will not create for us limits. Plus to that, some weapons that was impossible, at least Ukraine could not receive it under current administration, could give to Ukraine in nearest one. And of course, the green light for our European partners to be more active, because it was such a feeling that United States of America influence on NATO not to interfere to this war and not, for example, to destroy rockets that Russia sent to Ukraine. As this morning we received 120 rockets from Russia to Ukraine. So that's some changes that we expect. That's why President Zelensky and some people in Ukraine believe that the change of administration could give better chances for Ukraine, at least to receive even not peace, because President Putin proposed peace, but it will be non-justice peace.
Sir, do you think, does the expiration of Ukraine's gas transit contract with Gazprom influence the diplomatic strategies with Europe and Russia? And if it does, then how's it doing so?
Of course, a lot of controversy during to this idea, because the current contract finished at the end of this year. Some countries in the European Union, for example, Hungary, want to see the new stage of this contract. I said the majority of ideas are based on the fact that it should be not Russian but Azerbaijani gas. But a lot of people have some feeling that actually it will be Russian gas under the name of Azerbaijani gas. But I think that now with the new administration, Ukraine can intensify talks with Trump and his surrounding about the idea that Ursula von der Leyen, the head of European Commission, said that Europe can purchase more natural gas from the United States. It means that now Ukraine could ask, for example, Prime Minister Orban, from whom he want to purchase natural gas, from Russia or from Trump, from the United States of America. It will be an interesting situation, because President Trump always said that Orban is a good politician. Prime Minister of Hungary, Orban, say that win of Trump it's an important achievement. So it could create some conflict in the interest of Viktor Orban, either to purchase Russian or American gas. Yes.
Well, Dr. Yoas, now, Russia's conditions for peace remain very rigid, particularly regarding territorial concessions. How can Ukraine respond to such demands while maintaining its sovereignty?
Of course, the rumors, as you discussed before start of this year, not interesting to Ukraine, because Ukraine says that we want justice. It means we need return of territory and punishment of Russia for starting this full-scale war. For Ukraine, it's very hard, but when Russian soldiers stay not far away from Kyiv, where I'm situated, in the end of February and whole March 2022, there was a feeling that Russia could destroy Ukraine in several days. But as the history shows, Russia failed to do that. That's why Ukraine still thinks that economy will play a more important role next year. So for Ukraine now, task just to be in this war, just to be till the next year. And according to my economic calculation, approximately from the second part of 2025, for Russia, it will be very hard to have this war and to preserve the economy. Thank you.
Dr. Ivan Yoas, the Professor of International Relations, thank you very much for shedding light on the intricate factors influencing Ukraine's strategy. The interplay of diplomacy, energy, politics and international relations would undoubtedly shape the path forward for Ukraine and its allies. And by this we wrap up our episode for today for In Focus. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more updates here on Q News.